Small. Welcome to Speak Up St. Louis.
Glad to be here.
Hey man, this is really exciting to have you on. So thank you for making the time. I'm really excited to get into this one, just especially because of previous things that we've worked on together and the connections we've had over the last few years. And so to be in this present moment, to be able to kind of look back, but then be in the moment and then talking about all these different things is really exciting for me. So so if you want to just start by just sharing a little bit about yourself and just telling folks who you are.
Yeah, my name's Tyler Small. I'm an artist in St. Louis. Sometimes I forget that part, but it does encompass all that I do. I'm a photographer doing freelance. I also do work with the Village Path with this exhibit that I have going on around fatherhood. I'm also a digital producer for Slam Agency. One of my favorite things to be is a dad, and I'm just really grateful to be a part of the community of St. Louis, being able to capture all the beautiful things we got going on. And yeah, I think that's the most I got for that.
The most you got? That's a lot going on, man. Don't sell yourself short. That's a lot going on in itself. Well, let's go ahead and take a kind of a step back in that sense, because where our relationship really formed was through not only just through design, but through the art space as well too. But working on a good old cookbook,
Yes.
I feel like is where we really started to bond and gel in that sense. So back, what was that, 2016,
17, about that time.
Yeah, 20, maybe 18 at the latest.
It was right before I had my daughter. A couple years.
So it's been a minute. So this is young Tyler and Q, really trying to figure out the world, figuring out how to do different design jobs and works, as kind of freelancers in a way too.
Mm-hmm.
We did a cookbook through the St. Louis Metro Market. It was through a few different grants. I think it was through Missouri Humanities. But then it was also through a Future Fund grant in the earlier stages of the Future Fund. I think that might have been its first year. We worked on a cookbook together it was a compilation of, I don't even remember how many recipes, but it had to have been at least 70 to 100 recipes in there.
The community was in there.
Community was all up in there.
We had plenty of recipes to pull from Mama's Kitchen, for sure.
Yeah, and so Tyler and I, we really worked on just, I don't have any of the photography skills, so shout out to Tyler for coming through and putting that together. But I did some of the design work and layout. Tyler came through and helped really beautify all the different pages, and we really came together and put something out there. We were just talking about that before we even started this episode, and just talking about, not only just where we were at that moment, but just the sense of growth of where we're at now as well too.
I mean, in addition to like learning how to be an artist, I was definitely learning how to be an adult at the same time. And also like working with all these other adults who had legacies and recipes to pass down. Mm-hmm. So I think you agree, it was like definitely an honor to have this passed on and like be entrusted with this and have the leadership we had to do it too.
For sure. And so, shout out to Lynn Piemuller and also Lucas Signorelli as well too for, one, being able to create the opportunity, but then also bringing us on to be able to do that initial work. Because I can't lie, in the moment, I absolutely hated that cookbook. And when it was printed and done, it was just like good riddance. Put it on the shelf.
Let me get a breath.
Yeah, let me get a breather. Because, man, I was fried just after getting just the process of the late nights of getting those pages together and things. And so I was sharing with Tyler before the episode that it would have been it had been a few years after we had released the cookbook. This was, I think we were still in the midst of the pandemic, and one of the community members had not received a cookbook yet just because social distancing, things shutting down. We just hadn't seen each other. And so I made a note of that and got her a cookbook. And she actually shared with us her eggplant parmesan dish. And when I showed her the cookbook, she just started crying. And, not in a, it was excitement as well as just in awe about what the work that we had did together essentially. And one of the things she said was, this was the first time that my work had ever been published, and now to know that that book is across the country, I wouldn't be surprised if it's been out the country, in some way, shape, or form. It just puts everything into perspective of at that moment my negative kind of connotation and relationship to the work, and then all it takes is a few years removed to see the impact that it had on somebody else's life.
Exactly.
It puts everything into perspective.
Yeah, and it also ties into that. Like, a reason I love doing event photography with the community is like the idea of everybody deserves to feel seen.
Mm-hmm.
Even like the kiddos asking for your attention, looking for connection. Like,
Right.
they just want to be seen, and just looking at everyone else in community with her recipe, being able to like show herself, show wherever she got that from,
Mm-hmm.
show what that meant to her. It means a lot. And
Yeah.
everybody in that community cookbook put a little bit of themselves in there, and it all came together.
Yeah.
And it looks like what St. Louis Metro Market was about, bringing the folks together.
For sure. And then I almost didn't think about it until we started getting into it some more. It was like, you did a lot of early photography work for the Metro Market as well, too, like getting the social media to really just come together to really share the story of the Metro Market. And so I'm curious, just, because we'll start kind of stepping into that conversation around photography. But for you, though, like, in your thoughts, why do people light up when they get in front of a camera? For the most part, there's some people that's like, I don't want no part of it, and that's respectable too. But like, for the folks that that want to be in front of the camera, what is that moment that happens that creates the photos that you're doing on an everyday basis?
I feel like it's about being a part of something, being able to put your mark on the world, and being able to like show who you are. Because we definitely all do our work alone. We all isolate in our own ways. But when we come out to community, it's our opportunity to share and to open our hearts. I talk to my friends about opening our hearts as we like navigate this life, because a lot of times we're closing ourselves off to avoid pain. But you also, in trying to avoid that pain, you avoid the love too. So I feel like some people understand they don't want to be vulnerable in that space at that time. So I said no. And you got people who want to be vulnerable and want to open up, and you can just appreciate things about them a lot of times in those moments, things they might not have appreciated, but yeah, it just all comes together. And I got to say, it was like amazing being a part of it, capturing it, going there week by week, and then seeing you step up even more for like leadership. Because I saw like how you were with the community, how you were with the bus, how you stepped up, how you continue to step up, and it's been amazing to see, for sure.
Hey, thank you. It's really interesting that you say that, because when I think about the Metro Market, especially those earlier days, like when you were involved and then I started getting more involved and then Colin got involved, like I really look at it, a lot of artists have something to do with the St. Louis Metro Market, which is pretty cool kind of in itself, of like that the Metro Market the Metro Market, let me break that down just because some folks may have not heard earlier episodes too. And also everybody's not from St. Louis. The St. Louis Metro Market is now mobile grocery stores that go to different neighborhoods in the St. Louis City and County area, selling groceries at a reduced cost. So that's the larger gist. You can go find more on stlmetromarket.org. But yeah, to be able to do that, because I still very much, even though I wear a nonprofit leader's hat, like I very much still operate within an artist mindset. So to be able to sit there and be like, man, us as artists, we're making the decisions that are having a direct impact in the community overall, that was pretty powerful. I can't lie. Like working with you and then also Colin, that was like a year after. Like those were some really cool early experiences of being able to see like art, like actual artists and leadership.
Creating things that had never been before.
Right.
And doing it in very creative ways. And I feel like at the heart, everybody is an artist. Everybody that came together for that community cookbook, artists
Yeah.
with food, the people who did the bus, artists with welding and thinking of something that's never been done before, and even how the bus is designed.
Yeah.
Like it steps into this space with so much color, so much life. It's like
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my favorite page out of that cookbook is it's the design we did with the truck with the greens kind of coming out of the back of the pickup truck. That to me is still my favorite one out of all of them, just because it was just the creativity, the late night creativity that was happening with it, and kind of the back and forth of like, well, what do you think? I like it, but what do you think? Like, so like, being able to build confidence in each other's abilities during that time as well, which was it was a cool moment. But, so that's kind of where that relationship formed. But I know for you, photography also started before that as well too. So could you talk more about how you kind of landed in photography? Did you find photography, or did photography find you?
I want to say it was mutual almost. It was mutual probably. As early as I can remember, single digits, I remember if there was a camera laying around, I'd mess with it. I think one of the earliest things I can remember was my dad was always in the system. So like we would send him pictures. And so in order to send like how big my feet were getting, because I had pig feet as a kid, we put the phone down, home phone on the ground, take a picture next to it and send it. And I remember doing my first selfie with the Kodak. And when I first got a digital camera, my granny was a nurse, so she would have pictures of her patients on there. So I'd always be scared to like look back because I didn't want to see the patient's things going on. But I would just get to shooting. And then as I got older, I would shoot family at the family functions. I would shoot randomly at high school. I would not ask for anybody's permission. I would just walk around, do off-guard pictures, then post them up on Facebook. We also was doing video because we were doing jerking. So I had my crew. Yeah.
Can you hold on? The
Lego
real
kids.
question is, can you still hit a pin drop?
I get up a little slower, but I can do it. I can do
He's
it.
still holding on.
Yeah. Sometimes I stay down there
Right.
and just hit one of those.
Right.
Have somebody grab
Right,
me
right.
real
And then come
quick.
back up.
Rangers. But yeah, that was also a time. Social media definitely helped me out. I didn't start public school until 8th grade. So like that was like a big motivator for me to like share my photography, because you can make a Facebook picture for someone doing picnic, or you could download illegally Photoshop, or use GIMP.
We all had to start somewhere.
For real, you get it. You're an artist. You make a way. But then what really like helped me tied to like marketing, which is what I do more now, is I had a clothing line in high school. I had a couple, and it was really cool to see people in my clothes. It was just really expensive to do, but it didn't cost as much to take folks' pictures, capture them, embodying whatever they wanted, being able to use the photos, being able to see themselves. And that's when I really just picked up a camera every day, shot every day. A lot of the high school photos I got like a 5-minute video of our high school class, 2014, that I'm excited to share with them. And yeah, it just never stopped after that. I also was afraid to be seen a lot, spent a lot of time by myself. So I think the more I started seeing myself as I got older and started finding myself and seeing reflections of me, I was kind of drawn to like capture those things.
I think that's really interesting. I guess this idea of the passion that was growing and how you were sharing that with the world, which in a way was you sharing yourself and your thoughts and ideas of how you were viewing it, but still at the same time, this kind of feeling of the vulnerability that also comes with the sharing, and also okay, this is my space where I have to be me as well too. So also, because we were kind of talking about it earlier, but you also just mentioned it, at the beginning of, oh yeah, I am an artist as well. Like, so how do you, because especially with photography, I'm making just seeing Trey do it as well too, and LB, my cousin, like it's very technical in that way. On all And when I say that, all art has a technicality to it, but I think especially photography is very specific. So I guess, how do you kind of navigate between some of the technicality of the work, and whether it be doing events and doing things, but then also making sure that you're kind of filling that cup of the artist and the creativity that you have as well too? Because I feel like there's that part of it where there's the job of the work, but then there's also the creative expression as well.
Yeah, I mean, it took a long time to find that balance. And I think like a lot of artists, we find ourselves doing things we don't want for like the financial benefit of it. And it kind of takes out the joy of like making art. And I've been grateful in like my freelance photography with events to like really be in alignment with like my clients. Also being able to say no to things that don't work for me and being mindful of like, it's other photographers out here that could kill it, that will be in alignment and that do work for, and it helps me and everyone involved when I do what's best for me, because it does what's best for everyone. Right. And yeah, sometimes the best thing you can say to someone is no. The people pleaser in me definitely wants to say yes sometimes, but that doesn't help anyone. And I've also learned that abandoning myself is one of the worst things I can do, versus worried about rejection or how people will take rejection. So I think that's definitely helped, because now the work that I do, I'm extremely proud of. I can get creative. I find art throughout that. But even outside of that, in my fatherhood journey, I capture a lot of our experiences together. I try to balance the being present and not having to capture everything. If she doesn't want to take a picture, we don't take a picture. I'm like, can I take a picture? She's like, no. Somebody else asks, she's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, cool, just whatever. You your father's child.
Right.
But I think that's like really helped out and allowed me to get creative and also do self-portraits too. And that started during the pandemic, where I had to like really sit still with myself. And that's when I really started getting into therapy even more. Started like visiting past wounds. So again, I had to look in the mirror and be honest about what I saw, and also love it a lot more, because part of my exhibit is like a quote of like, healing isn't loving the best part of yourself, it's learning to learn to love the worst parts of yourself. And so like looking in the mirror and really having to see myself was like a form of art, because I don't know, you had to see the beauty in it, you had to get it from different angles. And I also did it every week. I would do it every Sunday. I would do it in natural light, so I got familiar with the camera, familiar with myself, and just familiar with like how I was feeling in environments, composing myself. So really, I just found myself in presence with a lot that I'm doing, because I don't need to disconnect from it. And it also reminds me of like my relationships with my friends, where I don't have to excuse their behavior. Like, I'm really proud of my friends, just like my clients. Like, I won't shut up about my clients. And I'm thinking of them as clients oftentimes. They're like friends. So it's a good space to be in, where I can just find art anywhere. But I forget it's art sometimes, because I have that marketing mindset.
Right.
But if you're doing marketing right, you're not selling anything, you're telling a story, which is art. So that's what I do a lot.
Well, I'm glad that you're able to acknowledge the community that you have. You talked about, these different areas, whether it being you, the photographer, you as the individual, the father, the marketing person. Like, there's so many different aspects of you and areas that you're touching with, not only your life, but, with the work and the craft that you have. But I'm curious because earlier you talked about there's a level of vulnerability that comes with photography. And so I'm curious on, when does any of like the vulnerability that you might be utilizing or in the moment of photography, does that some of that transfer over to fatherhood or yourself, or are those kind of their own separate areas that you kind of have to fill out, and it's like that stays over there and that's just what that is?
I would say for the most part, it kind of follows me everywhere. Even talking about like abandoning myself, I try to be mindful of like taking myself with me wherever I am. And if I can't do that, it's probably not a safe space. And even thinking about my daughter is watching me and looking at what I'm doing and taking that to account, I don't want her to see me go into spaces that aren't safe, because I don't want her to stay anywhere that she doesn't feel safe. So I say with photography, a lot of times I'm embodying what I want other people to embody. So, at an event, we having a good time. I open myself up to the joy. if I'm in an interview and we're doing something a little bit more serious, I open my own heart without taking up too much space, but just being able to be honest and vulnerable about anything that I can like connect to. I think that just plays a really good role and helps us see each other, because even like leadership, I think about that as like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to say like, come along with me, and I wouldn't ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do.
Right.
I just think that's the way to go about it. So yeah, I kind of take that vulnerability with me everywhere I go. It's extremely hard. Sometimes I get really scared, and it's hard to do. But then I realized, like, I was in therapy talking about it today. The things I'm scared of the most is like the thing to do. Like I had this big fear of like being misunderstood, and I would tell people that, and I feel like it would happen. And then after it happened, like the world would end. And I'm like, oh, yeah, the fear was valid, but like I can face that fear. Right. I can move through that fear. And being misunderstood is a part of being seen. Right. But also you get to see blind spots. You get to see different perspectives of you, different reflections of you that you probably couldn't get a glimpse at. So that helps. And the last part is like with my daughter, like right now she's really scared of like bugs. So like,
is there a particular bug?
Bees. All the bugs with wings are bees right now. If it got wings, it's a bee, and it's gonna sting her. And I'm like practicing patience in there, because it can be frustrating too, because it's like, I need you to go to the bathroom with me, and I'm like, I think you can go to the bathroom by yourself. But also being patient and being mindful, like I'm scared of things, and like talking to her about it. Like, you're scared of bugs? I'm scared of the dark sometimes. Like, I gotta turn the light on because I just watched a scary movie and it got me. So being mindful of like being vulnerable also like honors where you give yourself grace and allows you to give the other person grace, and also like welcomes you into a space where it's like you're not alone in this experience and you don't have to be alone. And then that it kind of helps you navigate it, because sometimes the scariest part is being alone. You need to do it, but we're community. That's where we really help.
Yeah. That idea of, you know, fear is valid, but the outcome could be totally different. And so not allowing that to hold you in a place, you know, like, because I think, you know, sometimes it's like, all right, yep, this got me here for a moment. But at some point, one of these days, I got to step into the new space. So just the mindfulness of being able to have that, but also, you know, this is another brother that's talking about therapy. I know we talked about this pretty in depth with Tyrell Manning for with the St. Louis City. That's episode 3. Episode 3.
That's my number. I love that.
Boom.
3 my number.
Shout out to Tyrell in episode 3. Shout out to hold on, we got to talk about this real quick.
A fellow Ty. Let's go.
Okay, so a fellow Ty.
Hey.
What is happening here?
Hey, it's gonna connect.
Tyrell, where you at right now? I need you to like bust through the door like the Kool-Aid Man or something right now. Like, we need a moment. Why the number 3? If you want to share, I should have been.
You're good. I just listen to my heart, and a lot of times it just takes me in that direction. It wasn't an angel number. No one told me. My favorite number or my favorite color is green. Kind of rhyme with 3. The triangle has 3, and it's the strongest shape. Foundation. A lot of things are in 3s. It's never steered me wrong. If I play dominoes and like it end in 3, I always score.
He's slamming that domino.
As soon as they put down a 3 on the end, I'm like, thank you.
Right.
I don't even gotta look for it. I just know I got it.
He get a 3 card in Uno. It's over for you.
It's over.
And don't let it be doubles. He running up the numbers.
I have you draw 3. The card don't exist.
Right.
I still got you doing it.
They got that new Uno though, where you can write in what you want. Plus 3. Take that L.
3 of them.
But yeah, but you know, to get back to like that idea though, like therapy though, it, you know, I haven't done it myself. I know that I need to do it at some point in time. But I do think that, you know, hearing more folks being open about that, like, yeah, I go to therapy and it's valid and it's good for you. Especially hearing that from other Black men, I think is really important. And so I just appreciate you even sharing that because that just creates a space for more folks to be like, oh, well, if they do it, so can I, which goes back to the, to the concept of what we were talking about. Like fear is just, it's in your head. It's there's a possibility, but it has no reality. It has no, Will Smith did a movie. You remember that movie that Will Smith and Jaden Smith did like way back when, and he breaks down. Yeah, he's like, he said fear does not exist. It is only within the mind. And he said, but danger is very real. Like, and not getting those two things intertwined, and building something up to where now you've created a mountain out of something that was only meant to be a pebble.
I experienced that a lot.
All the time.
I love that movie. I love Bill Will Smith. Pursuit of Happiness. Don't let anyone else tell you can't make your dream come true. Something like that.
Yeah, and I'm definitely a Will Smith guy. If you had to ask me, like, who's one of my favorite actors, Trey already knows who it is. Denzel, day in, day out for me. Training Day.
Get your hands off of me.
Right, American Gangster. Like, he did so many great movies by him.
What's that? He's a movie where he's like in the system, and he says something like, "Hate got me here, and love's gonna get me out."
Ooh.
That movie made me cry.
Ooh,
Powerful.
We're gonna talk about that.
I think it's Ricochet.
Ricochet?
I think so.
Okay, I need to go watch that.
Oh man, it'll get you.
That's cool. So yeah, so Ricochet, everyone, go watch that, and then go drop a comment under this episode once we release it. Tell us what you thought about it. But to shift a little bit in that sense of, vulnerability and love and stepping into those things, fatherhood, especially, being able to watch your journey. Thus, for me personally, seeing your growth over time and then your development, not just as a dad, because at least from most parents that I've talked to, it happens. Like, they talk about that shift that happens when a child enters your life. But I think what's really struck me over time is the level of openness that you've had, sharing it with others, whether it be like we talked about, in events and passing, but also even through social media, and just being very transparent about that. I feel like the combination of, I don't want to call it heightened vulnerability, but I think the way that because I don't think you've just put it up on a pedestal just to do it for likes or views. I think you do it because it's genuinely, truly who you are, as well. And so I feel like those two things, those three things just kind of came together, which is a triangle, which is three. And then Village Path kind of happened as well too, which kind of I feel like gave another way for you to be able to access more of all three of those things, as well too. And so I'm curious on how you got into Village Path. What's the story behind that? And that kind of gets into some more of the work and some of the healing and other things that you've been doing over the last few years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny enough, the Father Figures fundraiser, which I do in partnership with the Village Path, it's year 3. Yes. Which is really cool to even think about. In the Village Path, they were co-founded in 2019 by Brian Antoine and Jamar Perry, two folks who have made St. Louis home and have brought so many folks together. And what I love most about that is it's a space for men to get together, however you identify, specifically for Black men. So opening up in the space about the common things that we have to navigate without feeling shame around them, and also feeling like a priority. But every last Thursday we'll meet and have a healing and writing circle, and that really kind of started changing the narrative for me, because you get on Facebook or you scroll a little bit, and you'll see men saying never open up because they'll use it use it against you, or as a man you can't feel in this world, there's no space for us. And I feel like that is a part of some people's reality, and it's an attempt to stay safe, and it's how people survive, because it hurts when you open up and it gets used against you. But being in the Village Paths healing and writing circles, it's a safe space. We know what stays here is here. We also know that sometimes people will bring things into the space and it'll be a big fire, but we keep in mind not to get too close to that fire, and affirm each other in our journeys. But it's been extremely healing. I found elders in that space. Baba Victor just celebrated his birthday. He's told me things. He speaks to the ancestors, and he's told me things about, I don't know, things that no one else could know I was like having trouble navigating, and just like saw me first thing when I walk in and told me and had me boohooing. And I definitely, I appreciate when I cry, because I feel like it's a release of pain. Stuff I've been holding on to, and I feel so much lighter afterwards. But as men, if you cry, you often are told you're weak, you need to pull it together. Even as young boys, like we're told, like, suck it up, what you crying for. So in that space, all of that is dismissed. The new narratives can start, and I'm able to be in these spaces with these amazing men that affirm me, see me, I can see them, we hold space together. And I've also learned, in me feeling like having a safe space, it helps to have like a designated time for these things. We're not just dropping things on each other willy-nilly. We've come together and have known like what we're here for and what we can do. We also do drum circles. We do wellness events where we work with the collective STL and we do yoga together, or New Era Fitness, and we work out. We did blanket and talks where we did our journaling prompts. It's just been really amazing to like really redefine what brotherhood meant to me, because in my past I would just push down so many parts of myself because you get made fun of. And in a lot of black communities, that's just the nature of things. But I can honor that I'm sensitive. Like, that hurts my feelings. I could tell my friends, like, yo, that joke you made, that wasn't funny to me. It was actually hurtful. I opened up to you about that. It wasn't cool to make a joke about that. And that just gets honored, and we get to work on that together. But the Village Path has been amazing. I'm on the board now. I've been on the board for about a year and a half, and started this as a way to give back, because they also give 5 free mental health sessions to people. And one of the toughest things about therapy is it's costly. It's $150 for a session, and you don't just get to do one session and you're done. It's a process. So getting those 5 sessions, we always talk about, treat it as like a workout. You don't go to the gym once and you expect to like get what you need and you are fit. You go 5 and you start to like notice, like, I feel a little bit better. I feel a little bit more confident. This might be toning up a little bit more. But to really treat it as like a process and be mindful of like, yeah, it's an investment, but if you do the time, if you like go in with an open heart, what you put in, what you get out, just like with the workout, you'll see the results. Or you'll find actually what you need, and they can point you in the right direction, being mindful of what your needs are.
Yeah. And I think even to add on to that, I think, working out and some of those other things are definitely, for the self in that sense. But having the access to mental health, sessions doesn't just impact you. It impacts, families, communities. There's so like it has a layered impact that you may not necessarily see in that moment, but the way that you carry yourself has a direct impact on the other folks that are around you.
Yeah.
Whether it being direct or indirect in conversation, you just never know. Somebody might see, that idea of there's always somebody watching you. And I say that in the best sense of, somebody sees how you're carrying yourself, how you're talking to others, how your compassion, your composure, and it's like, I want to be like that guy. That's a domino effect.
Yeah.
And I think that's very much needed, not just in St. Louis, but in so many different places where the world is telling us, oh no, this is the type of person that you have to be. And so I kind of want to challenge the thought of, because you said, stepping into this, into, I guess, a new narrative. And I'm wondering if it's less of a new narrative and more so of a true narrative, in the sense of it's not something that you never had. It's just something that you weren't necessarily tapping into.
Exactly.
So you weren't tapping into a level of mental and emotional support. So therefore, you never knew that you had access to those type of emotions, et cetera. Does that seem right, or is that, or do you think it's it's different than that?
No, it resonates with me because the way I viewed it is like it was new to me, in that I didn't see that pretty much at all,
Right.
Unless it was on the TV. So like you knew it was there, but like when you see it on the TV, it's almost like fictional.
Right.
But honestly, once I started using my camera, it took me to spaces I had never been before, in rooms I had never been before, and that's when I can really see like outside of my little circle.
Yeah.
And even thinking about some people in St. Louis, including myself, like I spent most of my time in like North County and Little Castle Point. So like that was the little that I knew.
Okay, no kid.
Yeah.
Okay,
it
you're not
was
that far
tough.
away from me. I live in Spanish Lake. I
Man,
know.
yo, we would go. We'd go to Redmond to go to
Yeah,
the pool.
yeah.
We go at least once a week for the camp. But yeah, you're just like limited to what you know, and it's just like this really small pocket, and you
Right.
don't really like look out. Even now, it's like a lot of people in North County just have ideas about South City, and I'm just like, it's great out here. I love my little city.
Right.
And it don't feel little. Well, you see everybody, but
Yeah, you see
it don't
everybody.
feel little.
You're only a couple people removed.
Yeah. but yeah, definitely new to me, because it was always here, and I
Yeah.
feel like even like when I think about the idea of love, my daughter's name is Amor. Like I spent all my life like looking for this love outside of me when it was always here in me, just waiting to be identified and appreciated and nurtured. So it was the same with that, just building appreciation for this narrative that was there that I can contribute to, and not so much fall in line and
Yeah.
think that the only thing was there was this one I didn't align with.
Yeah, and I think that's why I began to kind of ask that question: is it more so new rather than a true a narrative in that sense? Because I think even shifting to what you're not only to who you are, not as an individual, but then also as a father as well too. I think even taking that shift one more to the photography of like the idea of putting out different perceptions in media and art that recognizes, especially in particular for this conversation, Black men in a different aspect and light than what they might normally see themselves as within larger media as well too. So there's multiple different shifts that are happening because you're living in that, whether it's new or true, we can, interchange the words. You're living in who you are in this very moment, which allows space for that to happen as well too. And so I think that's, probably also connecting even to your recent exhibition at Monaco as well, that I think really kind of encapsulates all those things in one place, which was really special. I had an opportunity to go to the opening and to see the love of the folks from the Village Path, but also from, your close friends, folks that are just seeing it for the first time. It was really special to see you and Wiley Price taking photos of each other, photographers taking photos of photographers. I felt like that was really special, to be able to see not only you in that light, but you connected into community in that light as well too.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming out too. It meant a lot to see people in the space. Also there for the the Luminary exhibit, considered in St. Louis. And it really meant a lot to see Wiley Price there too, because Father Figures, which is the fundraiser I do in partnership with the Village Path to raise funds for the work that they do, is also about father figures, not just people who are dads, but people who also show up in community and can be someone that they can look up to, can appreciate. Because before I was a dad to my daughter, I was a father figure to another little one, and that's still my little homie for life, and that meant a lot. So I never disregard anyone who's not related through blood, because you got big brother, big sister who comes through with the mentorship. They're big brothers, but in the way of father figure. But the Father Figures Heartfelt Legacies exhibit, man, I'm just so grateful that it happened, and also that it's so true, because everything in there is honest and vulnerable, and it for me speaks to the importance of how love and emotional vulnerability and I remember talking about generational trauma with family once, and it just didn't resonate. And then talking about how we could pass down love and how that could be such a beautiful thing that just goes beyond. And I know for me myself, sometimes like we had this idea of like money being passed along, accumulating this wealth, but as I like navigate the mental struggles, it's hard to really appreciate that money. And especially as men, like I feel like we can never have enough money at times. So thinking about that generational love and that pouring that we could give to them, I think it just like goes so much further than we can ever see. Just like planting a seed, sometimes we'll never see that tree, but we know it'll bear fruit. You should have seen the kids come in and see their pictures. They were so excited.
The joy on the dad's faces that I saw in there, but then also the photos of the kids in the pictures themselves, I was like, yes. And you know, to maybe nerd out, at least from an art perspective, a little bit, just even some of the angles and the perspectives that you were shooting these images from, whether it being from a potentially like a child or a dad figure, or even those were at least the two main ones that I was seeing kind of within the work. But it was just the perspective of, you know, I guess at least the way that I was kind of interpreting is like, you know, generally when I think of like my dad, I think of somebody, you know, this tall, strong, you know, individual. So my thought of it, and also he is tall, like actually tall.
It makes sense.
So
you're
like,
tall.
so my thought and perspective is always looking down, whereas the perspectives that you were showing within some of the images were much more intimate images, very close, tight, you know, but also a lot of the angles were going up as well too. And so that's something that I'm just started thinking of more of right now, of what I was experiencing there, and found that really interesting. So I don't know if you want to talk some about, you know, how the development of some of the photos that you did, because the one that struck me the most was the one with the young girl's hand that I guess it was wrapped with like bandages or something like that.
Yeah.
It was like the pink kind of like rope or something like that. I found that one to be really just compelling overall.
Yeah, and that was actually one of my favorite ones as well. I honestly appreciate all of those pieces. The followers I had a part of it were Ricky Hughes, D Smooth, who is an amazing individual I've gotten to know over the time, including Ricky, but Heath was the one who I had a part of that. He has twin daughters. He was one of the owners of St. Louis Boxing Club.
Okay.
So it just really fit for me to like do the hand wrapping. And it just made me think about the times in our lives where like we're fighting and we're going through the challenges, but it's like hard to give ourselves grace. That one is titled Fly Like a Butterfly. A lot of times, and also one thing that's significant through all the pieces and the dads is like they're all girl dads. We're all raising little women that are looking to us, honestly, to see what they should be looking for in a partner. So a lot of times, like, it's important to like show that love, show that fun, show that grace, be able to show up in that way, embody those things so they know how they should feel in somebody else's presence. And in that one is letting them know that they're capable of so much. And that we can pour that strength into them, and also just fan their flames. And another part about the hands is this year I dedicated the exhibit to my grandfather who passed in December, which was tough because that was the first time I had been to a funeral in a long time. And one thing I remember about him for sure is like he couldn't speak. He was paralyzed. And he would say some things that you could make out. There were usually like 2 or 3 curse words because he would be really excited. He'd see you dance. But if he didn't see you for a while, he would cry when he saw you, and he would hold your hand and he would kiss it. And it's just something that, it's one of those things where like it stays with you, but you don't realize like the impact that it has. It also reminds me of like fatherhood. It's like these moments that you can just like let go by. But like when you look back, it's just like, man, that was bigger than I thought it was. And it can like really set the tone for things. Like the kids asking you for a hug and you don't give them a hug. They say, oh, I can't ask for a hug again. Don't ask for hugs. That moment right there could have gone by, and it could have been a negative experience or a positive experience, and like really planted a seed. So that's kind of going into like the perspectives of these shots and getting really intimate, because it's like really in the details. It's the small moments are the big moments. The time you take out to play, the time you take out to care, the time you take out to put the phone down, stop working, and just be present and listen. Another one of my favorite pieces is the one with Ricky Hughes, where he has the mirror on the front,
with the
it has Harlow and Violet seen in there holding their little hearts with their hands. Another part was just like reflections of each other. Because for me, fatherhood has been like a really good opportunity to like help heal my inner child and reparent myself. Because I'll see her show up in ways where I sometimes don't show up for myself in the best ways, and seeing it outside of myself, I'm like, dang, you need a hug right now. You just need somebody to listen right now. You hungry and you don't want me to tell you to wait. You want me to help you out. And it gives me an opportunity to show up for her. And in that, I'm more mindful of like showing up for myself. And it's like a healing experience together. And I'm able to do that. But like seeing myself in them and realizing like that's part of me. That's little me showing up, asking for something. And I'm showing them how to show up for themselves in a way.
It's almost like you're showing up for yourself twice.
For real. Gotta have another kid so I can do it 3 times. I love my kiddo. I am happy.
He said one is enough right
One
now.
is enough. She
He
can
said
get
he
all
is
my
blessed and
attention.
highly favored as is.
Oh man, she keeps trying to like play with little kids and like be a big sister. I'm like, I'm glad we have good friends.
Chill that out. Chill that out.
Go ahead.
Hey, Ray, do that now. No, I'm just really happy for you, man, to be able to, you know, I've said it a few times, like this, the perspective and the support in the community, and being able to hear other black men being able to talk about the love and the joy that they have of experiencing other black men in safe spaces. When a lot of we're not going to even talk about national media. we could even just talk about St. Louis media shows us that is not, you know, that at least presents to us that that's not the case, that it's hard, it's rough, it's survival. And so to be able to hear the soft stories, like when you were telling those stories, like I automatically thought of my dad. I was just hanging out with him yesterday. We went and got some materials for some new art that I'm making right now. So we're gonna do some framing this weekend. But he's anytime that I'm making art, he's got his hand in it some way, shape, or form. Because I'll have an idea, but then I'll need to simplify some things around just the structure. He's a carpenter, so he could basically build a house if he wanted to.
Artist.
Yeah, he's an artist. You know, he's an artist for sure. And you know, we went. So yesterday, after we got all the material, like for the longest time since I've been a little kid, we would play. We throw darts, and 301 is our game. I get beat a lot. Like I don't win too many games. I'm not gonna even try to flex. I don't win a lot of games. We played like 6 games yesterday. He ain't played in forever. I ain't played in forever, and he smoked me for 5 of them. Like
You got
I
one?
got close. I got one. Hey, and guess what? I got that one. You know what I did? All right, I'm good. I said, all right, you know, I'm gonna hold my W. I'm gonna hold back. Hey, because this recent W, all them other L's before don't mean nothing. This recent W, that's current. I can walk out with my head held high. But you know, that's something that you know, that we do all the time, and it's we laugh, we joke, but sometimes it's even, you know, there's not a whole lot of words said. It's just you're like intense, like this intense moment of trying to win the game. And so, you know, we'll have some Seinfeld going on in the back, laughing at that while we're playing. And so, yeah, it's cool to hear these moments because that's so transferable. Like, as you were telling that story about you and your daughter, I automatically like went to yesterday and the joy and the comfort that I felt of it. Doesn't even have to be words necessarily exchanged, but it's the moment, it's the experience of being with, you know, someone like, you know, just even how you were talking about, you know, your grandfather, you know, grabbing your hand and kissing it like that, like that's invaluable. You know, to be able to have those experiences, not just with family members, but with other men, to know that this is a valid experience. This is not weird. this is not. There's a lot of words that that I would say a lot of community members, especially Black folks, could have for that.
A lot of jokes.
Yeah, a lot of jokes. We ain't got to get into that, but but I do think it's just making those things. I don't want to say, maybe the word is normal, but I think it's just, but I don't even want to say normal, because I don't want it to become something that you don't appreciate. I want it to be. I think the word is probably consistent. It's something that you come to expect. So you come to expect a level of love, a level of care, a level of sensitivity in life, not just through a father figure, but through the individuals that you have in your life as well too. And so you just, being able to open that, kind of open that up and expound upon that, really, it centered me in a moment. And I think, to connect that even to your artwork, I think that's what some of those moments did for me as well too. It was like being able to stand there and sit and see somebody else's experience and directly correlate it with something that I've experienced in life. And I think just doing that in itself is a narrative shift in St. Louis that is so needed, in a way of making sure that folks know that, and I don't want to say it in a very kind of floofy type of way, but love is here in this city. No matter what this larger media perspective is of St. Louis, love is happening here in very genuine, real ways.
Yeah, and the resources are here. The support is here. It's not harder to find, but the other stuff is louder. That's for sure. So you really gotta pay attention, let go of the distractions. Sometimes let go of that hurt and look forward to the healing, or at least listen to the hurt and where it may be leading you to and what support you need. Yeah. And speaking to what you just said, shooting these dads, I experienced a lot of secondhand joy. Me being a dad, I get to get a lot of the things I didn't have. So in those moments, I'm just happy to capture them.
It fills you up.
You said what?
It fills you up.
Yeah, it fills me up. And it also, I'm there. I'm capturing it, encapsulating it. They get to take it with them. And it's this moment freeze in time. And that's a big part of where my art comes in. Being able to freeze these moments in time where we're together in community, and can be reminded we're not alone. And we're also a little bit happier when we're together.
Right. So you've also said the word grateful a lot, whether it being I thought that was, to be honest, I think that it was a really, grateful, the word, is definitely a perspective shift, but, to come in and say, hey, Tyler, how are you doing? I'm grateful. That doesn't just speak to a level of humility. I think it also speaks to a level of, I'll say reality for right now, because I'm sure you'll have better words for it than me. But what does grateful mean to you? Because that really stood out to me, because I feel like especially when you say that as an intro, that sets the tone for the whole room. I'm grateful. We have because it made me even think about it. So what does grateful mean to you, and where does that come from for you? Is that something more recent, to where that value is really kind of come to the surface, or you don't necessarily have to pinpoint it exactly, but I'm just curious on that perspective from you.
I think it's always been there. I think we always talk about an attitude of gratitude, but I think more recently, again, in therapy, I've learned all the hardest things that I've had to go through, all the things I didn't want to have to deal with, once I can finally appreciate them and also accept things as they are, it's the actual time I can do anything about anything. And when I resist what is, it makes life a lot harder, to be honest. So thinking about gratitude is today, 12 p.m., I was in therapy, and it was clear that I was tired, I was exhausted, I was depleted, and I was fighting that. And I was just trying to push through it. But like when I could finally like honor that part, give it gratitude, give it a good look, give it some appreciation, listen to my body and what it was trying to tell me, then I was able to like honor and feel a little bit lighter. So thinking about that, thinking about being grateful for, I get to hang out with my kid and all these other dads. I hung out with some dads today, so I could really look forward to that. And it really just like encompasses everything, the lessons, the hardships, the good things, and how it's not one thing. And it's also way more valid than saying good or bad or I'm sad, because I'm not just this. And even when I'm navigating emotions, it's never one thing. That's literally my life. It's never one thing. So the grateful is just embodying all of that, and I can like unpack it more if like we have time to like get in the conversation with people. But for me, it just like really helps encompasses all of that. And legit, I was really grateful because we just had a blast going to the Tower Grove Tuesday market. She saw her friends, I saw my friends. We got good food from local folks. And I navigated something, and I didn't let it take over my day. It was a part of my day. It wasn't my day. It was just a moment, and that's what life is. It's a series of moments that always come together in the oddest of ways, but it always land me exactly where I didn't know I wanted to be, because it never turns out how I imagined it to be, but it's always a little bit better.
It never does.
It takes its time,
Right.
and it's a process, but it's always it's just right. I'm like, dang. This is exactly what I needed. Everything I have is everything I was missing, period.
Because the moment was made for you, you know? And it just took the time to be able to say, okay, I need to do the work so that, you know, when the moments come, they don't, like you said, big or small, it doesn't throw me off my game, good or bad. Because the good moments can sometimes throw us off our game too, because we get so much into them as well. And so, yeah, I appreciate not just necessarily the openness, but the allowing for, you know, I can hear, you know, just like the word that comes to mind is, you know, monolith of like, you know, individuals aren't monoliths. We're not this one, you know, this one-sided, like we hold multiple different emotions, perspectives, like identities, as well. And so being able to respond to that, being able to know when, like, to even know when you're tired. Like sometimes like we don't give ourselves enough time to even do that, because there's always something else to accomplish. There's always another job that needs to go on. But especially as men too, it's like, oh, I got to achieve X, Y, and Z so that I can provide X, Y, and Z. Like that's wired into us, whether we know it or not. And so just being able to step back and really kind of, I guess the way that I see it is like, you know, you're stepping back and you're looking at, you know, the whole game board essentially, and saying, okay, like I can do this, but is that going to position me in the way that I need to, for the person that I need to, that I'm still becoming, the person that your little one is looking up to, but also other folks in the community as well too, because you are a leader in the community. And so, you know, to be able to have that is, I feel, is really valuable. And so I hope that as folks are listening to this episode, once we release it, that, you know, some of that perspective and shift of that you don't have to do it alone begins to start to set in. Because you know, I don't know for anybody else, but I know for me as the leader, the artist at times, sometimes I could be like, all right, you know, like I need to do this, when sometimes I was never meant to do it by myself. Sometimes it was meant for me to say, oh yeah, I need help.
We were not meant to carry this alone.
Nope.
That's something I like, put it down.
Yeah, because asking for help is some of the most, it's like, that's vulnerability right there within itself. Because it's hard to say that either you don't have the skill set, the time, the capacity, and all the other things that come with it, and to say that to openly say that, hey, I'm struggling with this. Can I either give this to you, or can you share in this moment with me?
Yeah.
that's a hard thing to do, because I know that it's a hard thing for me to do some days, whether it being just the transitions of work or just being able to say, no, I need to tap into somebody else that I know does this better than me. Because, sometimes at least in my head, I'm like, shoot, I can do this. I'm the best.
You
I'm
can,
right.
but it'll hurt you. in the
Right.
end.
Right. So, and is that worth it?
Yeah.
Is that worth the pain that comes with it, but also the blowback that happens? Because generally when we make decisions, our decisions impact other people. And so is that worth the blowback and the pain that it brings other people on into their lives? Because I wasn't, mature enough to be able to step back and say, no, I need help with this one.
The question I keep asking myself in the face of opportunities now, thanks to my therapist, is
Shout out to this therapist.
hey, Cecilia Carter, we love you. Thank you. We love you.
Shout out to you. You out here doing the work.
It's is it portraying me or supporting me? And it really helps me like navigate a situation, be mindful of like, will I have built up resentment after taking this on? And will this like play a negative role in the relationship? And also, do I really have capacity to do this, or does it just sound good to say yes? Because oftentimes I'm betraying myself, and we're wired to do it. Like decades on decades, we've learned how to do this. So it's
Right.
probably gonna take decades on decades to undo it.
But even to that idea of, around opportunity, I talk with my grandparents and they'll be like, oh, back when, when I was trying to get it, like, so you hear these stories of, oh, there were less opportunities and now you're positioned to get it.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes in a way I'm like, well, shoot, if I'm positioned to get it, then I need to go make it happen. Whereas just because it's a good opportunity doesn't mean that it's for you.
That scarcity mindset can put you in a position. So I know abundance isn't always the reality, but for real, it's plenty of doors.
Plenty.
Everybody can eat. You're going to get a yes after you tell them no.
Right.
And you'll probably be happier after. And
Of
if not,
course.
you learned, and you want to say yes next time.
Right.
So yeah, that scarcity mindset can be dangerous though, because you find yourself with a lot that you don't want. And yeah, a lot of that takes away from your peace, your freedom, and like we said, that affects everybody around you, because you end up carrying too much and you saying, why y'all ain't helping me? And it's like, you need to put that down.
Now you got beef with everybody. Now you walking into the room like, I got beef with you. I got beef with you. I got beef with all y'all.
They vegetarians.
Right.
They don't know what's going on.
Right. I'm vegan. Right. Yeah, I'm vegan. I don't even eat. Right. I don't even want that beef.
Shout out to the vegan way.
Right. Right. We got love for y'all too. Right. I got beats for y'all. Terrible joke, but I don't care. I don't.
Hey, being on the St. Louis Metro Market, we
Right,
get the-
right.
You
Like-
saw me in the caption.
Right.
Every time, trying to come up
So
with
we gonna
something.
blame you. That's like
Blame me.
I'm gonna blame Tyler. Yeah. So before we wrap up, I wanted to share another story. So I forget what the exhibition was. It may have been 2 Pulitzer exhibitions ago. I think I saw you like maybe end of the summer, early fall of last year. And we had talked. And it's funny just because, like, as we, when I'm thinking about this larger conversation we're having now, I remember I was like, hey, I want to get you on the podcast, blase, blase. You were taking photos, but you had made time and things like that. And you were like, yeah, I want to do it, but not right now. Like, in the way you said it, I forget the way that you said it. It's like, you were like, I want to do it, but this isn't the moment yet to do it. And so now to see, okay, a few months later, to be here and talking about it and seeing how much it's in alignment, not only with the number 3, but all the exhibition and all these other things. It's like, yeah, this was the moment. This is the present moment rather than the rush of, oh, I got an opportunity in front of me. And so I don't know. I thought back to that and I found that really valuable of like the foresight for you to be like, no, like, yeah, Q's cool. Yeah, this will be cool, but that's not now. And being able to say no know the opportunity would come back, and then to still have the, you know, the foresight of like, this is the present moment to do it. And so I'm really appreciative of, you know, even though just even those little moments of being able to look back at those and being like, oh, I see it now. And you being able to share all this, the way that I view it, man, dude, you're in the overflow, man. Like it is, it's abundantly clear, like this place you're in a, like, you, and it's, and maybe this just goes back to even what we're talking about. And this is not me just saying it just, oh, because we're on a podcast. Like, you know, because, you know, like, I don't find that interesting. But I feel like you being in the place that you're supposed to be at brings me joy, even in this current moment, because I can see it. It's radiating off of you, seriously.
Right on.
And so I can only imagine what that does for folks that are actually close to you in that sense. Folks that get to see you every day, get to see how you're interacting and how you're able to really be able to take those things into perspective. So, man, just keep being who you are.
Right on.
Keep growing, bro.
Thank you for saying it. I forgot it. That happened, though.
Yeah.
I remember it, too. So thank you. Yeah. I did not know it would come back, but I trusted it would come in some shape or way. So thank you for the opportunity.
No, I definitely, it was on my list. I was like, oh, he told me no now. I'm gonna get him on later. Now, I know me anyway, but I was like, okay, I see how it is. Okay. Right, I'll be back. I'm leaving, like Denzel, I'm leaving here with something. But, yeah, but as we're wrapping up, though, I want to throw you the question that we ask all of our guests. It is a two-part question. The first part is, what do you love most about St. Louis? And the second part is, what do you most want to see change?
What I love most about St. Louis is fresh. When I take my daughter out to these community events, we went to Butter Love's 1-year anniversary, had a block party, and I wanted to eat, and she wanted to eat, and a couple of folks in the community were just like, just eat, and they took care of her to eat, made sure she was like not messy, but like I would just look over and community folks would just be here for her, showing up, and for me, and just the love that I see in community, I really appreciate, and it makes me feel happy to be in St. Louis, that Amor gets to see that and be a part of that and recognize like that's how I should feel in a space. So if she's not in there in the future, she's like, you know, I'm not going to be long where I don't belong. So I'm going to go ahead and skedaddle and also call attention if I need to. So that's been like one of the biggest things for me, being able to like have her explore the city, all the free things we have to do, but then also the love that's around. You know, it's dangerous, but it's a lot of love in this city that she gets to see and experience. As far as the things that I want to change, I really just, I feel like a lot of times when we look at the youth, we just look at them as like problems and these kids that ain't got it together. And it's not talking about the parents at all, but I feel like kids are just reenacting things that they've seen and also trying to survive. So I would just love to see like the kids get a little bit more grace, get a little bit more love, care, and love, and a little bit of patience. And I know that's really hard to do because everybody kind of wants to stay safe, and it's like real dangerous out here. But that kind of hurts me the most because I used to be one of those kids. I would be out there throwing rocks at cars, running around doing dumb stuff, fighting. But really, it was just me trying to fit in spaces that I didn't belong. And yeah, I think that's what I want to see the most. The youth not just get dismissed because they're having a tough time, because they're trying to do anything or do their best, and it looks horrible, and it's like giving us a bad light. Instead of how it makes us look, let's look at what they're really trying to call attention to and what they might need and resources. And just people doing that, I see the work, but I hear a lot of people talk about them, and it kind of hurts because it's just like, that's a kid trying to do their best, and they messing up. But literally, I was in that position and could have stayed in that position. Right. So yeah, that's what I would say, and that's just my honest answer.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And I think, you know, a part of that work is, you know, like I said earlier, it's just you being the person that you are. And I think that that model of and how that reflects to other folks, and the way that you're doing your photography and the work with the Village Path, I think creates a system for where, those things become the things that we talk about and discuss in safe places with folks that we, are able to trust, but also it becomes the model and the image for other folks to be able to say like, oh yeah, like I want to be like that guy, because he could be his authentic self rather than trying to be somebody that he wasn't ever meant to be. And so thank you so much for this refreshing conversation and being exactly who you are.
Thank you for being you and having me in the space. I feel safe to share. It means a lot, man.
Appreciate it, man.